The winter weather is wreaking havoc on the mainland, and that is impacting sentiment for home builders and for home buyers. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into where rates are at as we end this week before we go into what is going to be a very busy weekend. And guess what? We should be, most of us are, in full tax prep mode because tax season is upon us, and we're going to talk about some things that you can do if you're a self-employed borrower to help you not only save money but also buy a home. So let's jump right in to the housing market update for this week, the second to the last week of February. The big three: prices are pretty steady. Inventory is up across the island, really across the country. And then rates are down, not a lot, but you know what? Steady Eddie. I like steady wins the race. So let's get into that. Some of the headline news: home builder enthusiasm is stuck in the ice. Pending home sales drop like the temperature, not like it's hot, like the temperature, and larger down payment. Oh, we're going to talk about that too. Is that a good thing? Some cases, in many cases, it is. And then the self-employed tax traps to stay away from. And finally, we'll go over the VA rates, something I want to show you, just to show you the current trajectory and where we're at based on what we've seen over the last 3 to 4 years. Home builder sentiment. Home builder sentiment did not improve. Home builder sentiment for the second month in a row is lower. Down from 37 to 36. This is off highs that we had in December of 39 really. We ended the year very strong for home builder sentiment and starting the year very weak. And the future sales expectations and buyer traffic have dropped just like the temperature and the weather across the country. Future expectation sales dropped from 49 to 46. And buyer traffic, current buyer traffic, from 24 to 22. That is ugly. Not just the temperature, but at the core, we are having problems with affordability still. Though affordability is at 3-year highs, still not very affordable for many people, and elevated construction costs. All right, well, inflation is coming down, but the inflation that we had over the course of the last 4 years, where prices of materials and prices of labor went up, those prices haven't come down. They're just not outpacing the current pace of inflation, which is good, but they're not going to come down. Don't expect that to happen. Just to kind of pour more, gasoline on this fire. Oh, they need a fire, right? Housing permits, housing starts, and housing completions all down year over year, down 2.2% on permits, down 7.3% on starts, and down 0.1% year over year on completion. So definitely not good news for home builders and home builder sentiment. Let's take a look at pending home sales. Well, pending home sales, you know what? They suffer the same thing that we saw with the home builders. Signed contracts dropped 0.8% from December to January, and they're 0.4% lower than last year. The current pace of sales is down to 3.91 million. We need over 5 million, folks. That is a very low pace of sales. That said, we should see a rebound as the weather starts to improve, especially in the Northeast. For much of last year, the Northeast led in buyer activity and home buyer activity. And right now, it's just too dang cold to get out. Nobody wants to go outside when it's minus 10 degrees out. At least I don't. I don't want to even go outside when it's minus 60 degrees out. So, and here's kind of one of the things that the National Association of Realtors economist Lawrence Yun said. And this is a good news because, and this is why there's an expectation of a rebound as we get into February and March, is interest rates, conventional rates are near 6%. With rates where they're at, there are fully 5.5 million more households that are available or can actually afford to purchase a home. That said, the expectation is that about 10% of those 5.5 million will actually make the move and buy a home. Hey, that's 550,000 people who are, or families or household formations that are going to look to buy a home coming up this spring. And if rates continue to drop, we may see a lot closer to that 5.5 million. All right, they're going to thaw out. They're going to get ready to go. They're going to get spring fever, buying fever, and they're going to start buying too. All right, and I will tell you this. We're seeing that on Oahu. Hey, we got good weather out here. Kind of windy right now, but we got pretty good weather out here. And it is picking up. It is picking up in Kaneohe and Kailua and Hawaii Kai. Even in Ewa Beach, in certain areas of Ewa Beach, homes are starting to go off the market like that. Expectations for pending home sales as we get into the spring, they are going to improve. Pending home sales are going to improve. Existing home sales will improve as well. Now let's talk about the benefits of a larger down payment. Now I know a lot of my buyers don't have a down payment, but what if you do have a down payment? What if you can do all cash? I will tell you this, I would probably not go all cash, and I'll get into that in a future episode. Why not to do an all cash purchase? But there are benefits of a larger down payment. The first one is lower monthly payments. Duh, all right? You can lower every $100,000 of a down payment lowers your mortgage payment typically about $500 a month. All right, and that's just kind of an average, just kind of using some ballpark figures, but that's about right. The larger the down payment, the lower the interest rate you're gonna get. That's right. Why? Because the bank knows that you got skin in the game, all right? So you are more risk averse and they can give you a better rate. So you get a lower interest rate, you have more immediate equity. All right, say you buy a home and then you have to sell it. Well, maybe you can't sell it, but you could rent it out if you have a lot more equity in the home. So that's good. You have equity right out the gate. And then the other thing I would say is you have a smaller loan balance. And really one of the good things about having a smaller loan balance is if you decide to take money out later, you can do that. And the other big thing, no private mortgage insurance. On a conventional loan, if you have a 20% or more down payment, then you do not pay private mortgage insurance. And what is private mortgage insurance? That is simply assurance that you're paying to the bank that you are not going to foreclose on your loan. So those are some of the benefits of a larger down payment. Stay tuned for next week when we talk about why you should not do all cash when you buy a home. If you're self-employed and filing taxes soon, this could make or break your home purchase. Every deduction that lowers your tax bill also lowers the income a lender can use to qualify you. That $30,000 in write-offs might save you around $7,500 in taxes, but it could reduce your buying power by $150,000 or more. Now, I'm not telling you how to do your taxes. That's your CPA's job. But lenders average 2 years of tax returns. What you file today impacts your approval for the next 12 to 24 months. I've seen too many business owners file in March, then call in June ready to buy, and their qualifying income just dropped in half. Before you file, let's run the numbers. 5 minutes, no pressure. We'll look at how your tax strategy affects your mortgage approval so you and your CPA can make the best decision. If you're self-employed and thinking about buying in the next year or two, message me, tax plan, and let's protect your buying power. And finally, let's get into VA rates. We are near 3-year lows. Yes, I know I'm saying that. I'm smiling. And you look across, this is the last 5 years of VA rates. The last time rates were this low was the beginning of February 2023. And they had come down from 7% down to near 5.5% on VA. And then they shot back up. Will that happen again this time? I don't think so. Because one of the things that when you look at this chart here, you can see over the course of the last year, the decline has been very steady. It hasn't been a super jagged up and down. It has been very steady. And if we could keep that steadiness, and quite frankly, I think we will, then you'll see interest rates get to 5.5. But we are near 3-year lows. That is great news. And what do we have next week? Well, heck, what do we have Friday? This Friday, we got a couple big reports. We got inflation report coming out, the PCE, the personal consumption expenditure report, Fed's favorite measure of inflation. Will it go down? Will it go up? We also got a GDP report coming out. Is the economy really strong? The labor market, kind of questionable, but I will tell you this, unemployment's down at 4.3% right now. Something's got to give. And you know what? Rates have gone down this week. One of the big reasons why rates went down, not a lot of economic news. We did have the Fed minutes come out on Wednesday, and those basically the Fed minutes talks about basically what the thought of the members of the Fed were at their January meeting. And they let me tell you what, the Fed is shaking and stirred. They're all over the place, folks, because they can't decide, do we got a weak labor market or a strong labor market? Do we have high inflation or increasing inflation, or is inflation going down? They can't seem to agree with each other on what, where the economy is. And so they're really kind of not committed one way or another. And we have the new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, coming in June. We'll see what happens. He is supposedly hawkish, which means he's more in favor of cutting rates. But right now, we don't know. But I tell you, based on that news, and based on the fact that really that labor report that came out last week, this week, everyone's kind of saying that labor report was way off. And that's, again, another reason why interest rates came down. We get into Friday, all right, we got the inflation report, we got GDP. We also, this weekend, what's going to happen in Iran? If something happens in Iran this weekend, i.e. we attack Iran, expect interest rates to go down on Monday next week. So that's kind of where we're at as we end the week. We'll see. Definitely trending in the right direction, though. Have a great weekend. Aloha.